I can tell you, Russia is like the angry kid on a playground. They're not going to stop doing what they're doing without severe repercussions from the United States. The GRU, the SVR, and the FSB, which is their military intelligence, CIA equivalent, and FBI equivalent, I can guarantee you are already making plans, if they already haven't enacted them, to target our political infrastructure again in 2020.
Well, you'll be happy to know we heard from the Kremlin today about the Mueller report. It's about Russia, after all. It clearly details their interference in our 2016 presidential election in what Mueller called sweeping and systematic fashion. But today, the Russians rejected Mueller's conclusion. Washington Post story reads, quote, "The report still does not present any conclusive evidence of alleged interference by the Russian Federation in the electoral process in America." Kremlin spokesman Dmitry Peskov told reporters Friday, "We continue to refuse to accept any such accusation." Reporting from Moscow today, our own correspondent Bill Neely says the Kremlin is paying close attention to the report.
They are poring over every page of it, and here's why. They want to know what the weaknesses are in the American political system. They want to know if Donald Trump gave orders to his staff, why did they ignore him? I remember being here just before the inauguration, and an official told me they had already a 14-page psychological dossier on Donald Trump. They are looking for every opportunity to add to that dossier to work out who's up, who's down in the White House, who gets listened to, who gets ignored.
We are fortunate to be joined tonight by Michael McFaul, our former U.S. ambassador to Russia. Ambassador, first off, this is an ongoing act of electronic warfare. Where is the outrage?
Brian, like you and I have talked about for years, it was a major sweeping systematic attack, as the Mueller report states. By the way, the Mueller report doesn't talk about all the different aspects of it, as you rightly mentioned just a couple minutes ago, and not only not the counterintelligence piece or the financial piece, but also the media piece they left out. And yet it was an attack, and our president chose not even to respond to it. And I think that was a big strategic mistake. This is a moment he could have pivoted to say, this is outrageous, it's not going to stand. His Secretary of State did it. He should have done it himself today as well.
And, of course, a lot of people have singled out Republicans and some big-name Republicans for their silence. Today, we noticed John Meacham responded to a tweet from you, and here's what he wrote. "I keep thinking about how far the party of Reagan fell to become the party of Trump. From tear down this wall to if it's what you say, I love it." And, Ambassador, that's kind of an immutable truth. A lot of Republicans have a lot to answer for.
Well, it's just shocking. I mean, this is not about Democrats and Republicans. This is about American national security. Americans should have the right to choose their own president without outsiders, including hostile ones like Vladimir Putin, seeking to shape the outcome. And I just don't understand why people don't embrace that. And by the way, Brian, think of the counterfactual just for 1 minute. I get in a lot of trouble with my Democratic friends on this. But think about if Russia had done nothing in 2016 and Donald Trump had won the election. He wouldn't have all this conversation about whether he was legitimate or not. He wouldn't have been tainted by all this. So I don't even understand, if you support Donald Trump, why you think what the Russians did in 2016 was so great for him.
Well, let me ask you this. Forgetting for the moment the Russians, what other hostile actors are reading this and realizing halfway through it how easy it is to slide into the heart of our political system?
It's a great point, because everybody's studying Putin's playbook. The Chinese, the Iranians, domestic actors, and they know that all those vulnerabilities still exist. We've done next to nothing to enhance our cybersecurity, either for campaigns or for the electoral infrastructure, because we've been battling between ourselves. We haven't done that in terms of new legislation. We've done next to nothing to clean up social media and broadcast media, by the way. And so all those vulnerabilities are there. And third, we've done next to nothing to enhance transparency about contacts with foreigners during campaigns. I think simple things like you should declare all your business contacts with foreigners if you're running for president. That American people should know that stuff beforehand, not after. I, as a U.S. government official, had to do that when I joined the White House. Why shouldn't we have that transparency? And all three of those buckets, transparency, cybersecurity, and media, we've only begun the conversation of what to do to protect our elections in 2020.
Hey there, I'm Chris Hayes from MSNBC. Thanks for watching MSNBC on YouTube. If you want to keep up to date with the videos we're putting out, you can click subscribe just below me or click over on this list to see lots of other great videos.